the question for so many women, especially if you have fears about being in hospitals, but then you're also nervous about being at home or a birth center. So it can be a tricky decision. And it's not surprising that we have a lot of trepidation, especially in this culture, because when you think about how a lot of hospital births are portrayed, it's usually like really intense and the women are screaming and there's tubes and medication and it seems really clinical. But then when you look at how a lot of home births are portrayed, at least in more traditional media, it's usually like everything going fine. And then there's a big emergency and the woman's rushed to the hospital and her life is saved at the last minute. So again, a lot of the mainstream messages we receive really about birth in all sorts of locations is that it's dangerous and scary. So, oh man, I have so much sympathy for you if you're like, I don't know where I would feel most comfortable giving birth. I'm nervous. So we're going to get into that. So one of the first things that I want to mention, going back to the home birth, is that the reality of a home birth is often much safer than we realize. So if you don't have any special circumstances that would make the hospital the safest option for you, because if you do have certain special circumstances, gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, certain things that really would make a hospital safest, you could be a great candidate for a home birth. And if you have a certified midwife, it's pretty safe. An article published in Journal of Midwifery and Women's Health, they reported that a planned home birth for low-risk women resulted in low rates of intervention without an increase in adverse outcomes for mother and baby. So again, the key term there is low risk. You would have to be a low-risk mama and baby to have a home birth. Okay, so to help you figure out where the heck you would feel most comfortable, I invite you to try the following exercises. So the first one, if you do feel that, different fears, anxieties, worries is what is like blocking you from making a decision, we're going to break down some of those fears and really look at it. So on a piece of paper, on your computer, on your phone, wherever, I would like you to write at the top of the page, hospital birth, birth center, and home birth. And then underneath each, I want you to write down any concerns you have about that type of birth, getting really specific. So for example, for a hospital, you might write the IV, the sterile smell, risk of infection, a mean nurse, the impersonal energy, pressure to have intervention. For home birth, you might list, not being able to receive quick medical care, like if surgery is needed, for example, feeling guilty if anything does go wrong, having a midwife that doesn't know what to do in an emergency situation. Just even if these fears, even if you know that they're not really like legitimate, they're just based on like stories you've heard, just write it all down to begin with. Write it all down. And then after that, I would recommend interviewing a few different doctors and talking to them about your fears about hospital births specifically. And what will likely happen is they'll be able to dissolve a lot of those fears and give you a more accurate depiction of what it would be like to give birth, at least in the hospital where they have admitting privileges, because it's different in each hospital. And then I would also talk to and interview a few different midwives, home birth midwives and midwives that deliver in a birth center, and share your fears and concerns about that type of birth with them and to see what they have to say. This is going to give you a much more well-rounded view of what birth in those different environments would be like. And a big part of how comfortable you feel in a birth environment is how comfortable you feel with the person providing care in that environment. So a big piece of interviewing the OBGYNs and the different midwives is hopefully finding somebody that you just really trust and you really feel safe with. Because if you find a person like that, you'll probably feel comfortable regardless of the environment you're in. So that in some ways is really key, is finding that medical care provider that you really, really trust. Something else you can do is listen to the meditation that I made for this specific issue. It helps you discover where you want to give birth. The link to download this meditation, totally complimentary, is in the description for this video below. Something else that can help you discover what type of birth or what type of birth environment you feel most comfortable with is watching different birth videos. I would not just look up birth videos though online, because you might be met with some like not great footage. I would Google either hypnobirthing home birth videos, positive home birth videos, hypnobirthing hospital birth videos. As typically hypnobirth, I'm a hypnobirthing practitioner, so I'm definitely biased, but usually their birth videos are very gentle, very encouraging, and let you see how you can have a gentle, beautiful birth experience in all sorts of birth environments. Another really cool video, it's a little bit out there, but it's great. It shows all sorts of water births, is the video Birth as We Know It, but look up the educational version. You can just find it on YouTube. It's about half an hour. It has some pretty powerful images. It even shows an orgasmic birth, which is super fun to watch. Something else is to know that it's okay to be nervous about where you're going to give birth. I mean, I can almost guarantee that any and all women, especially women that haven't given birth before, are a little bit nervous before they give birth for the first time. Probably women that have given birth multiple times are still a little bit nervous before having a baby. So having some nerves isn't necessarily an indicator that you made the wrong choice about environment. It just means that you're human and you're about to go through an experience that is foreign and you're a little bit nervous. So don't let your nerves like increase that anxiety. Know that they can be totally normal. And then the last thing is brainstorm how you can create a birth sanctuary. So the great thing is you can create a serene environment in a hospital, at home, or in a birth center. And so the key to this is figuring out how you can nurture your 5 senses. So to start brainstorming with this, I would write down your 5 senses, so sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, and then begin writing down ideas about how you can nurture those 5 senses during birth. So for example, you could collect a few, soothing prints, pictures, paintings, whatever, to hang on the wall, something that when you look at it, you feel really soothed. You could have battery-powered candles. You could have those in any type of birth environment, creating a playlist with soothing music, your favorite guided meditations. You could purchase an essential oil diffuser and soothing essential oils like lavender oil. You could pack a bag with coconut water, lavender flavored honey sticks, breath mints. You could have a cozy robe to wear during birth. So again, really nurturing those 5 senses can help you create that birth sanctuary regardless of the environment you're in. Something else I also recommend in regards to creating that birth sanctuary, and regardless of where you're birthing, is to create a sign for the door that says, "Please knock gently and only enter when invited in." This helps to ensure you have more control over who comes into your birth space, because the energy somebody brings into the birth space can really shift how you feel. You could be at home in a safe space, but if all of a sudden your like mother-in-law and sister walk into the room and typically they stress you out, that's going to create a stressful environment at home. So you can help to maintain more control over who is in your birth space with that sign. All right, if you have any questions about how to choose the ideal birth environment, let me know in the questions below.